Hello and welcome to this week's edition of BS with AJ. This week's video I'm going to show you how to make a sheet metal rose for your wife or girlfriend for Valentine's Day. It's going to definitely score you some points, so pay close attention. Alright, the first thing you're going to need to make your sheet metal rose is a template. This is the template that I use. You could go online and look up rose template and print something off and cut it out to trace onto your metal, or you can go to the store and buy a fake rose and take it apart and trace it, whichever you prefer. Alright, we're getting ready to cut our rose template out. You're going to need a pair of reds and greens sheet metal snips. And I would suggest using a pair of cut-proof or cut-resistant gloves, because the metal is pretty sharp and you don't want to cut your hands open while trying to make a rose for your wife. You don't want it to be that red.
Got any twos?
Go fish.
Hey!
Alright, the next thing we're going to do is use a 9/64 drill bit and drill in each one of these dots that we put in the center of these. Alright, now that we got all our holes drilled, the next thing we're going to do is take our snips and go in between these lines and get it and cut it down to about a ½ inch away from that hole, because you're going to need to bend all these up. The next thing I like to do is come over these and go over all these edges to make sure I get any sharp points off them. So I run them over this bench grinder. Alright, now I'm using 14-inch galvanized utility wire. I just cut off a long length and bent it right in half. And what you're going to do is start putting on your pieces in the right order. And I'm about to show you which order. Alright, now what you want to do is put them on exactly backwards, because you want your top to be the very first one. So I'm going to put... Alright, now that you've got it down to this point, what you want to do is bend this wire flat here, all the way up until that edge right there. You want to leave a little bit, because that's what's going to hold your flower together. Shove them up the rest of the way here. You want to get them as close as you can here. Alright. And what we're going to do is bend that down to make sure. Bend this a little bit down to make sure that none of these petals are going to try to come off. Alright, now what I did was I put the very end of that in a bench vise, and I'm going to start twisting this around to make the stem, just like this. Alright, the next thing you want to do is, I got a long piece of wire about 16 inches or so, and I came about an inch or more from the bottom and vice gripped it in place. And what I'm going to start doing is twisting this on there and tightening this down so that the petals don't move. Alright, now when you get down to this point where it's real tight, what you want to do is take a pair of wire cutters and cut it as close as you can. And you want to do the same up here at the top just a little bit to make it look better. Alright, you're going to need 2 pair of needle nose pliers for this. And to start it off, you just pick a petal, bend it straight up, and curl it around. Alright, there's your centerpiece. Now what you're going to do is just keep going, picking different petals, bending up and twirling it around to make it look as realistic as possible. Alright, now as you can see, it looks pretty good so far, but I like to take it a step further, and I take my pliers and I come through here and I bend down the edges just slightly, kind of bend them out like a real rose would be, so they're not so stiff, just sticking straight up. And I come back here and I do this on every one of these petals to make it look more realistic. Alright, now that I've got all them bent out, you can put as much time and do as much detail as you'd like, and I'm sure you can come up with much better look than mine does. But the good thing about roses are they're all unique, so it's not going to be perfect. It doesn't have to be. Alright, now that you've got all the detail work done, you can come through here and spread it out if you'd want to have a looser rose, or you can squeeze it kind of tighter, whatever you want. Alright, now you can paint these if you'd like. I normally don't. I just like the metal look personally. You can always make these stems a little longer, and you can twirl it around and have it basically make a base for itself to stand up, or you can just set it in a vase for a centerpiece, or however you want to do it. Alright, well here's our final product right here. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you enjoyed this project, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I hope to see you next time. Share and subscribe, man.